Game starts with a radio statement from the British Prime Minister who declares a war on Germany. Then we get a prologue showing campaigns in Norway, Libya, Tunisia, Germany and Netherlands. After that, the plot takes us to London in spring 1942. Churchill decided to create a new type of unit, recruiting soldiers from prison convicts. Billy Bridger is one of them. He becomes a part of two-man team as an explosive specialist. Led by Mason, they move through the rocky coast. They try to get to the airstrip and blow it up. On their way, they need to take down some German posts and avoid being detected. Bridger sneaks into the hangar, plants explosives on the Stuka aircraft and gets back to Mason. But it turns out that only the bombs planted by Mason exploded and the one planted by Bridger fell off the plane while it was lifting off. As the plane is now on their asses, Mason orders Bridger to get on the anti-aircraft cannon and shoot it down. Though all in all, the mission was accomplished, Mason is really angry that they almost got killed. They are interrupted by a German soldier who takes them at gunpoint, but next thing we see is Boyce driving his car with Jerry locked in the trunk. Bridger gets the next assignment. This time, he is on his own. And we can see that Mason is injured. Bridger sneaks on a nearby garrison and steals a car. They drive away and Bridger tells Mason he radioed a boat to come for them. When Mason hears that, he is terrified. And soon he spots a German on the horizon. Well, turns out that by sending the radio message, Bridger actually alarmed all German units in the neighborhood. Now they must escape under heavy fire and soon their car breaks. At this point, Bridger has a mental breakdown, but Mason gets his spirit together. The duo takes defensive position in a nearby abandoned German post and waits for the enemies. They fight bravely, though being approached from ground and air. Luckily for them, soon a British warship and some air support shows up and helps them. So Bridger's radio message must have reached them after all. In conclusion, we are informed that SBS continued to fight through the war, engaging in Greece, Italy and mainland Europe, actually becoming a blueprint for a modern special forces. Next stop, Rjukan, Norway, spring 1943. Small British commando attempted a raid, but their mission was unsuccessful. A German officer questions a woman named Astrid Bjornstad. He suspects that she is a part of the resistance and might know something about the mysterious soldiers that kills Nazis under the shadow of the night. Well, she changes subject to a purpose of the plant and what it produces. And what it is actually a heavy water for the atom bomb purposes. Meanwhile, a lonesome soldier is approaching the facility from the woods. Turns out it's Astrid's daughter, who sneaks inside and finds her mom. Astrid tells her daughter that Germans are building something terrible in this factory and they need to find out what it is. After infiltrating the buildings, Astrid orders her daughter to destroy electrical substations. Then they meet back at the bridge, but it turns out they get ambushed. The German officer who was questioning Astrid earlier steps in and orders not to kill them. Astrid tells him that's her daughter and hacks her, creating a little distraction that she uses to give her some documents from the factory and push her down from the bridge. Solvik, because that's the girl's name, survives the fall and now she is on her own in the middle of a freezing night. At one point she even falls into the water and struggles not to freeze to death, but in the middle of the forest she spots a house in the distance and manages to reach it. She kills a German soldier inside, but she's so exhausted she passes out herself. And when she wakes up in the morning, she looks at the documents that her mom has given her. So, the factory produces heavy water, a key ingredient in a new type of bombs that Germans are secretly making. Astrid wrote a letter explaining that the heavy water transport that will be shipped tomorrow must be stopped to prevent Nazis from producing a bomb capable of destroying entire cities. Solvik must destroy the heavy water supplies in the depot where they store it and the dockyards where it's prepared to be shipped. After she deals with the heavy water, she also approaches a nearby village while Nazis are holding key documents about the resistance. Once she breaks into the police building, girl uses a kerosene lamp to burn the place down. Solveig overhears a radio announcement about the remaining heavy water supply stored in a nearby bunker, so she goes there to destroy it as well. Inside, she spots her mom on one of the trucks, and again, she is talking to German officer, trying to make him aware how deadly those bombs will be. Unfortunately, Solveig gets spotted and the truck with Astrid leaves the place. Girl pursues the trucks and manages to reach them and destroy the cargo. She looks for Astrid, but a German U-boat appears and her mom is taken aboard. Shootout starts and Astrid uses the distraction to grab a grenade, but the German officer shoots her before she can do any math. Solveig gets cornered, but Astrid manages to unlock the grenade and a huge explosion destroys the last barrels of heavy water. In conclusion, we are informed that destroying the Norwegian heavy water production made the Germans' Uran project fail to produce a nuclear weapon. Then we are taken to Provence, France. It's autumn 1944. Allies are battling to retake Europe. We see a transport of soldiers arriving in France being transported from African colonies. But once they reach the front line, they are threatened as a second-category troops until their captain volunteers his men to take a shot on taking a German AA gun protecting the key enemy fortress in an old chateau. While on the road, their transport is attacked by planes and they must go to the checkpoint through the forest. Then they progress to the front line and destroy Schanze field guns. They push through the trenches and blow up the guns. Then they assault and secure the Stützpunkt Geist. Idrissa tells the others to rest, but his brother insists on progressing to take down the AA guns and actually convinces the rest with the speech how they can get into history books if they deal with those guns. So, the squad progresses, sneaking carefully on the gun positions and destroying them one by one. They succeeded, but many of them were lost in the battle. Idrissa is very angry about the casualties. One of the captured German soldiers tells them that they are surrounded and soon a counterattack will crush them anyway. Idrissa gets a bit scared, but his brother tells him if they escape now, all those men have lost their lives for nothing. So they decide to go for the chateau, because that is what enemy is not expecting. So with just a few men left, they try to sneak in. Deme goes on a one-man mission to secure a passage for the rest. He manages to sabotage the village defenses. The rest joins him and they attack a western bastion. That opens a road straight into the chateau. They perform a brave charge at the western gate and use a captured field gun to break it. Once inside, they use a surprise element, but the Germans inside have a tank, so French soldiers are pushed back. Deme gets shot and Idrissa drags him away and saves his life, rushing at the tank with a grenade. Idrissa gets heavily injured and dies. Deme takes his gun and with just 2 other soldiers, he gets into the castle. Inside, they find no resistance from the enemy, just injured German soldiers. Soon more French troops arrive and secure the place. And in the conclusion, we learn that though the black troops had made a massive impact on the war, the French army pulled them back as soon as Paris was liberated. An estimated 25,000 soldiers from Africa died fighting for a country most of them had never seen before. Finally, the plot takes us to Rhine-Ruhr region in Germany in spring 1945. There, General Bradley's army presses the borders of Germany with an overwhelming advantage, both on ground and in the air. Peter Müller is a commander of Tiger Tank number 237, along with driver Kurtz and 2 very young boys. They are part of the German defense. Hitler orders his men to fight to the end, though the war is already lost for them. Hartmann is scared, while Schroeder is under a propaganda influence. Tiger 237 is sent to destroy enemy artillery positions in the center of the city. Then they battle armored columns near the railroad. They manage to destroy a few Sherman tanks, proving the Tiger tank's reputation of being the most advanced tank unit in its time. Soon bombers arrive, but Kurtz manages to drive away without being hit. They find a hideout, but they quickly need to scout a way out of the city. Müller sends young Hartmann, who is scared as hell, but Shredder convinces the commander that it's their best chance because Hartmann is useless anyway. Soon the enemy column passes by and Müller doesn't want to leave Hartmann behind, but they have no choice. They are ordered to reach the German main base and grab all the important documents before the enemy captures them. Tank gets damaged on the way, so Müller decides to go alone and reach the anti-air gun while Kurtz fixes the machine. He manages to capture the gun and destroys the bomber. Meanwhile, Kurtz fixes the Tiger and they progress through the streets. Müller gets into the building and finds documents. On the way to the HQ, located in the cathedral, Müller looks at the destroyed city, civilian casualties and deserters hanging on the ladders. At one point, he spots Hartmann, who was also hanged. Shredder considers him a traitor, but Müller argues that he was just doing his duty. When they reach headquarters, it turns out no one's there. Radio communication is dead, so Müller looks for a working one. He gets a message which orders all forces at the cathedral to defend the bridgehead, and at that precise moment, US troops surround the square and ask Germans to give up. Shredder decides to shoot at them and fight till the end. Since he did it, now it's too late to give up, so they try to break their way out. And actually, they manage to do that and get out of the square. So they escape and try to rejoin the main forces. But turns out, the bridge gets destroyed before they are able to cross it, and one of their caterpillars gets damaged. At this point, Kurtz has enough, and he wants to give up, telling Müller it's all one big lie and they destroyed the bridge and left them behind anyway. Müller tries to convince him to stay, but he turns around and walks away. Shredder shoots Kurtz in the back. In a rage of fury, he tries to fight upcoming US soldiers, while Müller is standing over Kurtz's dead body and loses faith in what he was serving. Müller gives up, and when Shredder spots that, he wants to shoot him too. Screen fades out, and we hear a gunfire, but it's hard to say whether Shredder killed Müller or US soldiers killed him before he can take a shot. In conclusion, we are informed that, led by their furious leader, Germans fight till the end. Then we get a short outro summarizing the war in a poetic blah blah about humanity and hope. And that's how the game ends.